Introduction to Anthropology Project 2, Belle O'Keefe. Social Inequality and Poverty. The Emic and Etic Perspectives on Undocumented Migration. With a focus on The Land of Open Graves by Jason De Leon and the New York Times. This presentation is an evaluation on the major differences between the Emic and Etic perspectives dealing with undocumented migration. Jason De Leon's The Land of Open Graves brings the reader extremely close into the immigrants' lives, allowing them to try to understand the thinking and behavior of these people, which further explains the reasoning behind their choices to pursue the intense and dangerous yet necessary journey that the migrants must take. In contrast, within many conservative articles in the New York Times, one can find an array of arguments as to why immigrants are causing issues in the United States and therefore should not be supported in any way. Overall, The Land of Open Graves exposes the emic lens of migrants and proves that the negative etic views as seen in the news are often misunderstood. Social inequality and poverty is an underlying theme that contributes to the reasoning behind the thinking and behavior of undocumented migrants. Structure is the economic, social, legal, or educational background of a person, and agency is the actions that people are capable of, which is based on their structure. According to the Borgen Project, more than half of the people living in Central America live below the poverty line. Poverty is a cycle that does not have much mobility. Therefore, there is little hope for success for those currently poor and their families to come. The inability to provide for one's family lowers self-esteem, sense of purpose, social cohesion, and more. In addition to this struggle, many people crossing the border are often fleeing from gang threats. These factors dealing with social inequality and poverty reveal some of the logic behind the migrants' choice to cross the border. An emic perspective is one that looks at a situation through an inside lens, while an etic perspective is one that looks at the situation from an outsider's point of view. The Land of Open Graves shares the words from Memo and Lucho, which are emic perspectives to the migrant journey. They explain the need to go to the United States to avoid gangs and support their families and themselves. An etic perspective on this issue suggests that immigrants are dangerous and do not contribute to the American society and rather just steal jobs while not paying taxes, like a criminal. Not all emic and etic perspectives can be represented and explained, as each individual looks at their circumstances very differently. However, these are two broad and extreme examples of how different the inside and outside views can look on the same situation. The emic perspectives demonstrated in The Land of Open Graves justify the thinking and behavior of undocumented migrants. They have no other options than to move to the United States. The migrants are conscious of the treacherous crossing but have nothing to lose. Therefore, they support one another while knowing that they will be supported in return and embrace the challenge together. Jason De Leon's book helps the readers to comprehend this perspective and make sense of the migrants' actions. When asked about the challenges that migrants face living in the United States, Memo responds by saying, "Well, it's hard because you don't have family, but not really difficult because you find ways to get work and keep moving forward. In the U.S., there are more possibilities to do things. You can survive." This quote emphasizes the immense need for people like Memo and Lucho to find new lives in the U.S. no matter the circumstances, and this is due to the extreme social inequality and poverty that they face in Central America. Throughout the Land of Open Graves, photos such as this migrant campsite illustrate these challenges that the undocumented migrants are willing to face in order to escape their inequality and poverty. This photo exhibits the poor conditions that migrants often sleep under, with solely a thin blanket or tarp and the clothes with which they are journeying. They travel with little to no belongings and experience extreme dehydration, exhaustion, and constant fear. However, Through their emic perspective, this is the best and only option, as the United States is where their opportunity awaits. A New York Times article explains Trump and other conservative opinions on immigration. The article reads, "His executive order states that many people who enter the country illegally present a significant threat to national security and public safety." The rest of the article continues to explain how this argument is actually unclear and not supported by any numbers. The thinking and behavior behind this opinion is due to the outside lens that cannot fathom the hardships that many migrants go through. The etic perspective often views the immigrants as a danger or inconvenience to the country because it is difficult to be able to grasp the explanations as to why the immigrants leave behind their homes for the United States. This photo of the U.S.-Mexico border displays the efforts to exclude the undocumented migrants from the United States. This continues to show the difficulty that many Americans have understanding the thinking and behaviors of the immigrants and why they would choose to enter the United States, especially as the U.S. practices prevention through deterrence, a method in which the U.S. keeps the environment as hostile and untravelable as possible. The etic perspective believes that it is important to protect the land, while the land of the open graves explores the emic perspectives as to why migrants yearn to find a place in this land, despite the risk. When explaining the major differences in perspectives that Jason De Leon experienced while working on the land of open graves, he stated, "Death lay there like a casual summer breeze." He is amazed by the difference in culture. The people in Central America have become so used to the tragedy that they face on a day-to-day basis due to their social inequality and poverty. This makes it so that death does not even faze them in any way, and it thoroughly affects others. Unfortunately, through the inside, emic perspective, it is simply just a part of the life they are living, while this scenario to an outsider or person with an etic perspective is absolutely terrible. While this image may appear disturbing to most, Jason De Leon shows this image to his readers to stress this reality of constant tragedy due to the inequality and poverty that many of the undocumented migrants face, that has caused them to become accustomed to the absolute adversity. Jason De Leon's book exposes these emic perspectives. He expresses their struggles and their motivations to improve their conditions, allowing those with etic perspectives to be able to understand the emic perspectives and situations that the immigrants endeavor. The Land of Open Graves by Jason De Leon does not offer a solution to the migration crisis, as there are so many different angles and complex, unique situations. However, it would be beneficial for people of differing views and backgrounds to work harder to appreciate each other's opinions and work to compromise. Overall, emic and etic perspectives can differ immensely, and undocumented migration is a great example of how difficult it is to understand the lives that one another experience, and how there are many factors that contribute to the contrasting thinking and behaviors dealing with immigration. The Land of Open Graves by Jason De Leon tries to bring the etic perspective readers to further understand the emic perspectives and how they are the reasoning behind their thinking and behavior to find hope and opportunity in the United States. The study of anthropology does not include deciding what thinking and behavior is correct and what is not, but rather it is more of an analysis on the culture and why it is the way that it is. Therefore, neither the emic nor the etic perspectives are more right than the other. However, oftentimes it is more important for people with differing views to try to understand one another with more compassion and more sympathy, as every person is different and has different perspectives and reasoning behind their actions, thinking, and behavior.